Emily Carter's laugh died in her throat the second her hips touched his lap. One heartbeat ago, she'd been standing beside the table, holding her phone like a microphone, grinning at her friends while they chanted her name. The next, the entire restaurant went quiet, like someone had pressed a button, and she could feel every eye on her back. The man beneath her didn't flinch. He didn't grab her, didn't shove her off, didn't even blink fast. He just looked at her, slow, steady, and unreadable, like he had all the time in the world and she was the only thing worth watching. Emily's smile stayed on her face because her pride was louder than her nerves. "Hi," she said, bright and careless, as if she sat on strangers for fun every Tuesday. A corner of his mouth moved, but it wasn't a smile, more like a decision. At Emily's table, 4 women froze mid-laugh. Even their drinks seemed to stop moving. Lauren hissed, half laughing, half panicking. "Okay, joke's done. Come back." Emily kept her posture calm, even though her pulse had jumped so hard she felt it in her ears. She was supposed to sit for 3 seconds. That was the dare. 3 seconds, then stand up, take the win, and let her friends buy her dessert. Easy. Except this man didn't feel like an easy kind of man. He was tall even sitting, broad shoulders filling a tailored charcoal suit like it had been made around him. His shirt collar was crisp. A dark tie sat perfect against his throat. His beard was trimmed sharp enough to look intentional, not lazy. His hair was jet black, combed straight back, not a strand out of place. His skin was bronze, like he didn't spend his life under office lights, and his eyes, dark, focused, heavy, stayed on her face, not her body. That should have made her feel safer. It didn't, because the calm was worse than anger. Anger would have been predictable. 3 seconds, Emily whispered to herself, the way someone might whisper, "Don't trip," on a staircase. She could feel heat rising to her cheeks. She kept her hands to herself, hovering awkwardly in the air. He finally spoke, his voice low enough that it didn't travel far, but it landed right against her ribs. "You're very brave," he said. Emily forced a laugh. "Or very stupid. The jury's out." His gaze dropped to her mouth for a half second, then back to her eyes. "You don't look stupid." Emily's stomach tightened. She'd expected the man to be offended, disgusted, or amused. She hadn't expected him to sound curious. Around them, the staff hovered like they didn't know whether to step in or pretend nothing was happening. At the far end of the room, a server paused mid-step, holding a tray like it weighed 100 pounds. Emily's friends were watching her like they dared her to pet a lion and now realized the lion had a name. Emily swallowed and decided to end the dare with style. "1," she said out loud, making it a joke. His brow lifted slightly. "1? I'm counting," she said. "This was a challenge. I take my humiliation seriously." A pause. Then his hand, large, steady, moved to the back of the chair, not to her waist. He didn't touch her, but the motion put him closer. Emily could smell his cologne. Clean, expensive, subtle. It didn't shout. It just stayed. His voice came again, even lower. "Who challenged you?" Emily tilted her head, still smiling. "My friends. They love me. That's why they ruined my life." A soft exhale left his nose. Not quite laughter, but close enough to make her feel like she'd gotten a point. "2," she said. His eyes didn't move. Emily tried not to focus on how solid he felt under her, how warm, how controlled. She'd sat on strangers' laps at crowded parties before. Drunk, silly, harmless. This was different. This felt like stepping into a room with a door that might lock behind you. 3, she finished quickly. She began to stand. His voice stopped her. "Wait. Just one word." Emily froze in the half-rise, her hands instinctively going to his shoulders, not gripping, just balancing. The contact made her breath catch. His suit jacket was smooth. His shoulders were hard under it, like he lived in a gym as much as he lived in a boardroom. Emily's eyes flicked to his. He didn't look amused anymore. He looked focused. "Is this the part where you throw me out?" Emily asked, trying to sound light. "Because I can go. I will go. I'm already going. His gaze stayed steady. I'm not throwing you out. Emily blinked. Oh. Silence. The restaurant still felt frozen around them. It made her aware of the soft jazz, the clink of ice, a whisper from a nearby table that died instantly. Emily didn't like being the center of attention. Not like this. Then, she tried again. Can I go back to my table before my friends start planning my funeral? His eyes flicked past her shoulder, toward her friends, then back. They look worried. They should be, Emily said. I have student loans. I can't afford to be murdered. That got it. Just a tiny shift in his expression, the smallest hint of humor in his eyes. And that, weirdly, made her bolder. Emily straightened her spine. Listen, I'm sorry. We were being dumb. I didn't know you were… what? He asked. Emily glanced at his flawless suit, the way other men at the restaurant kept sneaking glances at him like he owned the air they were breathing. Important, she finished. He leaned back slightly, still not touching her. Important. Emily swallowed. Yeah. His gaze traveled over her face slowly, like he was memorizing. What's your name? Emily hesitated for half a second, just long enough to feel the warning flare in her chest. Her mother's voice, her instincts, every true crime documentary she'd ever half-watched while folding laundry. Don't give your name to strangers. Don't sit on a stranger's lap. Don't talk to men who look like trouble in expensive suits. But she'd already done the lap part. And he wasn't looking at her like a predator. He was looking like a man who rarely wanted anything and suddenly did. She gave him a version of the truth. Emily. He repeated it like he was testing how it sounded in his mouth. Emily. Her name never sounded dangerous when she said it. On his tongue, it did. And you? She asked before she could stop herself. His eyes held hers. Alessandro. Emily blinked again. Okay, definitely important. He didn't correct her. He didn't add a last name. Emily tried to stand again, slower this time, so she didn't topple and accidentally headbutt him. The moment she fully lifted off him, the air felt colder, like she'd stepped away from a heater. Alessandro's eyes stayed on her. You can go, he said. Emily exhaled, relieved. Great, thank you. Sorry again. Enjoy your dinner. She turned quickly, walking back to her table as if she could outrun embarrassment. Lauren met her halfway, grabbing her elbow. What did he say? Lauren whispered. Nothing. Emily whispered back. He just talked. Madison's eyes were wide. Emily, that's Alessandro De Luca. Emily's step slowed. Who? Madison stared at her like Emily had asked what gravity was. Are you serious? Emily made a face. I don't know every rich guy in America, Maddie. Lauren leaned in, voice tight. He's not just rich. He's De Luca. Emily looked between them. Is that supposed to mean something? Sasha, the calm one, slid her phone across the table with shaking hands. On the screen was a local business article, but it wasn't really a business article. It was one of those polished pieces that talked around the truth. Philanthropist, real estate, private investor, strong ties, security presence, and a photo. Alessandro De Luca, in a suit, looking straight into the camera like he didn't care who was watching. Emily's stomach dropped. That was him. Same hair, same beard, same eyes. The article didn't say Mafia. It didn't say crime. It didn't say danger. But the way the writer avoided details said it anyway. Emily pushed the phone back like it was hot. No, that's not… That's him, Madison said, voice trembling. Emily, why would you sit on his lap? Emily stared, still trying to catch up. Because you told me to. Lauren threw her hands up. I didn't know it was him. Sasha's voice was tight. This place is his favorite. He's here all the time. How did we not notice? Madison looked like she might cry. Because he sits in the darkest corner like a villain. Emily tried to laugh. It came out strangled. Okay, great, perfect. So I basically just sat on the lap of a man everyone is afraid of. Lauren's eyes flicked nervously toward his table. He's looking over here. Emily's throat went dry. She didn't turn right away. She didn't want to see him watching her like he'd already decided something. But she turned. Alessandro was still seated, his posture calm, his expression unreadable. He held a glass in one hand. He wasn't drinking. He was just holding it. And yes, he was looking straight at her. Not at her friends, not at the table, not at the restaurant, at her. Emily's heart started pounding again, harder this time, because now she understood what the silence meant. She understood why no one had moved, why the staff had hovered like they were waiting for a signal. This wasn't just a rich man's table. It was a table people didn't interrupt. Emily forced herself to look away first, turning back to her friends with a stiff smile. "So," she said, voice too bright. "Dessert?" "Emily," Sasha whispered. "We should go." Madison nodded quickly. "Now." Lauren reached for her purse. "Like, now." Emily hated that, hated the fear creeping into their faces, hated the way her own hands were shaking under the table. She nodded, trying to act casual. "Okay, fine. We're leaving." They gathered their things fast, too fast, bumping elbows and knocking a fork to the floor. The sound felt too loud. Emily stood, forcing her legs to cooperate. She kept her chin up as they walked toward the exit, like she hadn't just made the biggest mistake of her life. Halfway there, the host stepped into their path gently. "Miss Carter?" Emily stopped so hard her friends nearly ran into her. Her blood went cold. "How do you know my—" The host's smile was polite, but her eyes were nervous. "Mr. DeLuca asked me to give you this." She held out a small black card. No logo, no company name, just a number printed in clean white. Emily didn't take it right away. Lauren whispered, "Don't." Madison mouthed, "Oh my God." Sasha's grip tightened on Emily's arm. Emily looked past the host. Alessandro had stood up. He was taller than she'd realized, taller than most men in the room. He didn't rush. He didn't call out. He simply waited. Emily's pulse hammered. She could feel every part of the room watching again. She forced herself to take the card with steady fingers. The host leaned in slightly, voice very low. He said, "You don't have to call, but he hopes you will." Emily didn't answer. She tucked the card into her coat pocket like it was normal, like strangers handed her mysterious numbers every day. Her friends pulled her toward the door. As they stepped into the cold night air, the city noise rushed back like it had been waiting. Emily's breath came out in a shaky exhale. She should have felt safe outside. She didn't. Because before the door could swing shut behind them, Emily glanced back one last time. Alessandro DeLuca stood inside, one hand in his pocket, his gaze locked on her through the glass. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't angry. He looked certain. And as Emily turned away, trying to convince herself that this would be a weird story they laughed about later, she didn't see what happened behind her. How Alessandro lifted his hand slightly. How one of the men near his table leaned in instantly. How Alessandro spoke without raising his voice. Not a threat, not a command shouted across the room. Just a calm sentence that made the man nod once, already moving. "Find out everything about her," Alessandro said. "Tonight." Alessandro DeLuca didn't move until Emily Carter was gone. The restaurant slowly returned to itself. Forks clinked, chairs scraped, laughter tried to come back. But Alessandro stayed still, eyes fixed on the glass doors, as if he could pull her back with nothing but focus. Behind him, one of his men leaned in, waiting. Alessandro spoke without turning. "Tonight, everything." "Yes, boss," the man said. Alessandro hated that title. It sounded like fear, like distance, like the version of him that belonged to rumors instead of reality. But he didn't correct it. He didn't have time to care. Because for 3 seconds, a woman who didn't know him had sat in his lap and treated him like he was just a man. And the way she'd looked at him, bold, annoyed, amused, had done more damage than any enemy ever could. Emily's friends walked her to her car like they were escorting her out of a disaster zone. Lauren kept glancing back at the restaurant. Madison kept whispering, "I can't believe you did that." Like repeating it might change the facts. Sasha stayed quiet, but her hand never left Emily's elbow. Emily tried to laugh. "Guys, I'm fine." Lauren's eyes flashed. "You're fine until you're not. Do you have any idea who that man is?" Emily swallowed hard. "I didn't." I do now. Madison's voice cracked. Emily, he's not just rich, he's DeLuca. Emily opened her mouth, then shut it, annoyed at how her throat had tightened. Okay, I get it. Big deal. Powerful. Scary. But nothing happened. Sasha studied her face. He gave you something. Emily hesitated. Her hand went to her coat pocket like it had a magnet in it. She pulled out the black card and stared at the plain white number again. Lauren snatched it. We throw this away. Emily reached out, calm but firm. Give it back. Lauren froze. Emily. Give it back, Emily repeated, voice steady even as her pulse hammered. Madison's eyes went wide. Why do you want it? Emily didn't have a neat answer. Because it felt like a door. Because she hated being told what to do. Because the memory of his voice saying, wait, had followed her all the way down the sidewalk. She lifted her chin. Because I'm not going to act like I'm terrified of a piece of paper. Lauren stared at her, then slapped the card into Emily's hand. Fine. But you're not calling it. Emily tucked it back into her pocket. I'm not calling it. Sasha's gaze sharpened. Are you sure? Emily nodded, maybe too fast. Yes. They hugged her at the curb like she was leaving for another country, then finally let her get into her car. Emily locked the doors out of habit and sat for a second, breathing in short bursts. Her phone buzzed. Lauren, text me when you're home. Emily typed back, I will. She started the engine and drove, forcing herself not to check the rearview mirror every 3 seconds. But she checked it anyway. At home, her apartment felt too quiet. Miso, her orange tabby, trotted up and meowed like Emily had personally offended him by existing. She scooped him up and pressed her face into his fur until her heartbeat slowed enough to think. This is so stupid, she muttered. Miso meowed again, unimpressed. Emily took a hot shower, trying to rinse off the restaurant and the eyes and the tension. But the heat didn't wash it away. The memory stayed stuck under her skin, the calm, the control, the way Alessandro hadn't touched her like he was proving something to himself. After the shower, she stood in front of her dresser with a towel around her hair and the card in her hand. Just a number. No name, no threats, no instructions. And still, her fingers tightened around it like it mattered. Emily opened a drawer and dropped it inside, then shut the drawer hard as if the sound could end the night. She climbed into bed and stared at the ceiling while Miso curled against her side. Lauren texted again. You home? Emily replied. Yes, going to sleep. She did sleep, eventually, but her dreams were restless, full of dark eyes and a voice that sounded calm enough to be safe and dangerous enough to be real. By morning, Alessandro DeLuca had already turned the city inside out. He stood in a private office above downtown, framed by a wall of windows. The sunlight didn't soften him. It only sharpened the lines of his suit and the focus in his eyes. Marco Santoro, his head of security, walked in with a thin folder. Emily Carter, Marco said. Alessandro didn't look away from the city. Tell me. 27, works at Crestline Creative, lives alone, no criminal record, no rich family, no connections that look like a trap. Alessandro turned slowly. A trap. You asked for everything, Marco replied, calm. Alessandro took the folder and flipped through it with measured patience. The pages held facts, timelines, a few printed photos pulled from public posts. Emily laughing with friends at a rooftop bar. Emily holding a coffee in a hoodie, hair messy, eyes bright. Emily on a couch with a cat in her lap, looking tired and real. Alessandro stared a moment too long. She didn't know, Marco said, reading him. Her friends recognized you. She didn't. Alessandro's jaw tightened. That explained the boldness, the honesty, the lack of performance, and it explained why he couldn't stop thinking about it. What's her routine? Alessandro asked. Marco flipped a page. Coffee shop on Pine Street most mornings. 7:55. Same order. Leaves for work around 8:10. Pilates twice a week. Quiet life. Quiet, normal. And still, Alessandro felt the pull of her like a hand around his wrist. Any threats? Alessandro asked. Marco hesitated. None obvious. But you know how this works. The moment someone sees you interested, Alessandro's gaze snapped up. No one goes near her. Marco held his stare. You want her protected, but you don't want her to feel watched. Yes, Alessandro said, clipped. Marco exhaled softly. Then you have to be the one who shows up. Alessandro's eyes narrowed. At her job? No, Marco said quickly. At her routine, where she feels normal, where she can say no without fear. Alessandro looked back out the window, then at the clock. 7:41. His decision was simple. Pine Street, he said. Marco's brows lifted slightly. If she says no? Alessandro didn't answer right away, because the truth was sharp. He didn't like hearing no. But he'd rather hear it from Emily than force a yes that wasn't real. She can say no, Alessandro said at last, and she can walk away. Marco studied him. And you'll let her? Alessandro's expression didn't move. Yes. Marco didn't look fully convinced, but he stepped aside. Alessandro left without another word. At 7:54, Emily pushed open the coffee shop door on Pine Street and tried to pretend she wasn't still thinking about last night. The place smelled like espresso and warm pastries. It was busy but not crowded. Normal people in normal coats waiting for normal caffeine. Tessa, the barista, grinned at her. Morning, Em. The usual? Emily nodded. Yes, and please don't ask questions. Tessa's eyes sparkled. So your night was interesting. Emily groaned. My friends are dramatic. Ignore them. Tessa leaned closer. They said something about you doing something unhinged. Emily pointed at her. No. Tessa laughed. Fine. Latte, extra cinnamon. Emily stepped aside, pulled out her phone and tried to focus on work emails. Then the air changed. Not silence, not noise, just a shift, like the room made space for someone before she even saw him. Emily looked up. Alessandro De Luca stood near the entrance. He didn't wear sunglasses. He didn't hide behind a hat. He looked exactly like he had last night, tall, broad, perfectly dressed, only sharper in daylight, like the morning had no power to make him ordinary. His gaze swept the room once, then locked on her. Emily's stomach dropped, then twisted with something that wasn't only fear. Her first instinct screamed, leave. Her second instinct, stubborn and angry, held her in place. Alessandro walked toward the counter like he owned time. People moved out of his way without realizing it. Even the guy holding a muffin stepped back as if Alessandro's space mattered more. He stopped a few feet from Emily, not crowding, not trapping. Good morning, Emily, he said. Her name hit her like a hand on her ribs. Emily lifted her chin. How do you know where I get coffee? Alessandro didn't blink. I asked. Emily stared. That's not normal. It's honest, he said. Her pulse kicked harder. Are you following me? No, Alessandro replied, immediate. I came alone. Emily's eyes narrowed. And why are you here? Alessandro's voice lowered slightly, private without being threatening. Because last night ended too fast. Emily let out a short laugh that sounded braver than she felt. It ended because I left. Alessandro's gaze held hers. Yes. Something in his tone made her skin warm. Like he respected the fact that she'd left. Like he wasn't offended by it. Emily gripped her phone tighter. So what do you want? A conversation, he said. Not a dare. Emily scoffed. Most men start with a name. You already know mine, he replied. Emily's mouth pressed into a line, annoyed that he was calm enough to make her feel like the dramatic one. Tessa called out, too loud, Emily, oat latte, extra cinnamon. Emily grabbed it quickly, grateful for something to do, something normal to hold in her hands. When she turned back, Alessandro was still there, watching her like he had nowhere else to be. Emily took a slow sip, buying time. You can't just show up in my life because my friends were drunk. Alessandro's eyes didn't move. They were drunk. You were not. Emily's brows pulled together. That's not fair. Alessandro tilted his head slightly. Is it wrong? Emily hated that she didn't have a clean answer. Because he was right. She'd chosen it. She'd chosen boldness. She'd chosen to do something reckless to prove she could, and now she was standing here facing the consequence. "What do you want?" she asked again, softer. Alessandro didn't hesitate. "Dinner." Emily blinked. "You're kidding." "No." She let out a breathy laugh. "That's insane." Alessandro's mouth twitched. "Possibly." Emily shook her head. "No." Alessandro's gaze stayed steady. "If you mean no, say it, and I'll walk out." Emily froze. The offer felt real, not a trick, not a challenge. She stared at him, searching for manipulation. But all she saw was control, careful, restrained. Emily's heartbeat pounded in her ears. "Why me?" Alessandro's eyes sharpened, like the question mattered. "Because you didn't look at me like everyone else, and because I can't stop thinking about you." Emily's breath caught, and she immediately hated herself for it. She forced a scoff. "You don't even know me." "That's why I asked for dinner," he said. Emily's cheeks warmed. She glanced around the shop, suddenly aware of how many eyes were sneaking glances their way. Curiosity, fear, recognition. She lowered her voice. "If I say yes, it's public, and I leave whenever I want." Alessandro nodded once. "Agreed." Emily blinked. "Just agreed?" "Yes." She narrowed her eyes. "And you don't show up at my job." "Agreed." "And you don't send people near me." A faint tightness appeared at Alessandro's jaw. Then he nodded anyway. "Agreed." Emily exhaled, shaken by how quickly he accepted her boundaries. "And your rule?" she asked, as if she needed to make it even. Alessandro's gaze held hers. "Don't disappear without a word." Emily's mouth parted slightly. "I don't owe you that." "I know," he said calmly. "I'm still asking." Emily's throat tightened because he wasn't demanding. He was requesting. She stared at him for a long beat, then made herself decide before fear could do it for her. "One dinner," Emily said. "That's all." Alessandro's eyes warmed. A small, controlled smile appeared, real enough to hit her like a soft punch. "Tonight," he said. Emily lifted her chin. "Text me the details." Alessandro reached into his coat and handed her a simple card with his name and number printed cleanly. No logo, no company, no title. Just Alessandro De Luca. Emily stared, then slipped it into her tote. "Okay, I have to go." Alessandro didn't stop her. He didn't touch her. He just watched her like he was letting her prove she could choose freely. Emily walked out into the cold air with her coffee shaking slightly in her hand. Her heart didn't slow down all the way to her car. That night, Emily arrived at the restaurant he'd chosen and immediately noticed one thing that surprised her. The table wasn't hidden. It wasn't in a dark corner. It was in the center of the room, fully public, surrounded by normal couples and clinking glasses. Alessandro stood as she approached, suit perfect, collar open, posture calm. His gaze moved over her slowly, respectful, like he was noticing her, not consuming her. "You came," he said. Emily lifted her chin. "One dinner." "One dinner," he agreed, and held out his hand. Emily hesitated, then placed her hand in his. His touch was warm and steady. Gentle, but it carried weight. He guided her to her chair, waited until she sat, then sat across from her. For a moment the air between them felt too full. Then Alessandro leaned forward slightly, voice low. "Tell me something true." Emily blinked. "Why?" "Because I don't want the version of you that performs," he said. "I want the version that chooses." Emily swallowed hard, caught off guard by how direct it was. She forced a small laugh to protect herself. "Fine. Something true." Alessandro waited without interrupting. Emily looked down at her hands, then back up. "I'm not fearless," she admitted quietly. "I just hate feeling controlled." Alessandro's gaze softened. "That's why you sat down." Emily's cheeks warmed. "Don't analyze me." "I'm listening," he said. The word landed heavier than she expected. Then her phone buzzed on the table. Unknown number. Emily glanced down casually until her blood turned cold. Leave now. He's not the only one watching you. Her fingers froze, her pulse slammed. Across from her, Alessandro's calm turned sharp in an instant as he saw her face change. What is it? He asked, voice still low, but suddenly dangerous in a different direction. Protective, controlled, ready. Emily swallowed, then lifted her eyes to him, trying to keep her voice steady. I think, she whispered, someone just warned me about you. The moment Emily read the message, leave now, he's not the only one watching you. The warmth of the restaurant vanished from her body. Her fingers went stiff around her phone. Her pulse kicked hard enough to make her throat tighten. Across the table, Alessandro noticed instantly. His posture didn't change, but his eyes sharpened, locking on her face like he was reading every shift in her breathing. What is it? He asked, voice low. Emily swallowed and slid the phone toward him, keeping her hand on it like she didn't want it out of her control for more than a second. Alessandro looked down. He read the message once, then again. His jaw tightened, just slightly, but he didn't explode. He didn't slam the table. He didn't turn the restaurant into a scene. He lifted his eyes to Emily, calm and steady, like he'd decided something in the same second. Look at me, he said. Emily blinked. I am looking at you. No, he said quietly. Look at my face, not the message. Emily forced her eyes to stay on him, even though her instincts wanted to scan the room. Alessandro's voice stayed controlled. You're safe right now. Emily exhaled, shaky. How can you possibly know that? Because no one who wants to hurt you warns you first, he replied. Emily stared. That is not reassuring. A faint shift touched his mouth, almost humor. It's not meant to be comforting. It's meant to be true. Emily's grip tightened on the edge of her phone. So what? Someone's trying to scare me. Either scare you, Alessandro said, or control you. Emily's stomach turned. Control me how? Alessandro leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice. By making you leave before you decide you want to stay. Emily's cheeks warmed at the last part, and she hated it. She hated that her body reacted in the middle of panic. She tried to keep her tone sharp. This is not a romantic moment. I know, Alessandro said, steady, but you're still you, even when you're nervous. Emily pressed her lips together, then looked around quickly. The restaurant was full. Couples, birthdays, laughter, normal. No one was staring at them now. No one looked suspicious. It almost made it worse. I don't like this, Emily whispered. Alessandro nodded once, like he respected that. You don't have to like it. Emily's eyes flicked to his hands. He hadn't touched her. He hadn't grabbed the phone. He hadn't told her what to do like she belonged to him. He looked like he wanted to, but he didn't. That restraint hit her harder than control would have. Alessandro reached into his jacket slowly and placed his own phone on the table, screen up. He typed a short message without breaking eye contact for long. Then he slid his phone slightly toward her. Emily looked down. A text was already sent to someone named Marco. Trace the number, quietly. Now, do not approach her. Do not touch her life. Just information. Emily's breath caught. She glanced up. Marco is my security, Alessandro said simply, and my friend. Emily swallowed. So it is real. Alessandro's gaze stayed steady. Something is real. We don't know what yet. Emily's phone buzzed again. Her heart jumped so hard she nearly dropped it. She looked down. No new message. Just a notification from Lauren. Call me. Now. Emily's throat tightened. She glanced at Alessandro. He watched her, calm. Answer. Emily hesitated. If my friends know something, They care about you, Alessandro said. Let them care. Something about that, his permission, not his demand, made her chest loosen a little. Emily tapped the call and lifted the phone to her ear. Lauren answered on the first ring, breathless. Emily, where are you? Emily lowered her voice. At dinner. Lauren made a choking sound. With him. Emily glanced at Alessandro. His eyes stayed on her, listening without forcing. Yes, Emily whispered. Lauren, breathe. I am breathing, Lauren snapped. Emily, I got a weird message too. Emily's blood went cold again. What message? Lauren's voice dropped. From an unknown number. It said, "Tell her to leave. She's being used." Emily's stomach flipped. Used how? Lauren exhaled hard. I don't know, but someone is watching you, Emily. This isn't a joke. Emily closed her eyes for a second, steadying herself. Okay, I hear you. Are you leaving? Lauren demanded. Emily opened her eyes and met Alessandro's gaze. He didn't interrupt. He didn't mouth anything. He just waited, like he was giving her the space to choose. Emily's voice came out quieter. I don't know yet. Lauren's frustration cracked into fear. Emily, please. Emily's chest tightened. I promise I'm not being stupid. I'm in a public place. I'm not alone. I'm okay. Lauren went silent for a beat. He's with you right now. Emily nodded even though Lauren couldn't see. Yes. Lauren's voice turned sharp again. Put him on the phone. Emily blinked. No. Emily. Emily glanced at Alessandro, then murmured, Lauren, he can hear me. Alessandro's face didn't change, but his eyes softened slightly, like he understood protective friends. Lauren lowered her voice. Tell him if anything happens to you, I will haunt him forever. Emily let out a shaky laugh. That's not helpful, Lauren muttered. I'm being supportive. Emily pressed her lips together. I'll call you when I'm leaving, okay? Lauren hesitated. Promise. Emily swallowed. Promise. She ended the call and set the phone down carefully, like the table had turned into thin ice. For a moment, neither she nor Alessandro spoke. Then Alessandro said softly, Your friends are loyal. Emily exhaled. They think I'm going to get kidnapped. Alessandro's eyes held hers. Are you afraid I will? Emily hesitated. Her mouth opened, then closed. Because the truth was complicated. She wasn't afraid of him like she was afraid of the unknown number. She was afraid of herself around him, of the way her body reacted, of the way curiosity kept tugging her forward even when her brain told her to run. Emily finally said, I'm afraid of not being in control. Alessandro nodded slowly. Then stay in control. Emily's brows drew together. How? Alessandro leaned back slightly, giving her space. Tell me what you want right now. Not what you think you should want. What you want. Emily stared at him. She didn't like being asked that way. It felt too direct, but it also felt honest. Emily breathed in, then said, I want to understand what's happening without panicking. Alessandro nodded. Good. And I want, Emily added, voice smaller, to finish one dinner like a normal person, because I said I would. A faint warmth touched Alessandro's eyes. Good. Emily's cheeks heated. Don't look at me like that. Like what? Alessandro asked. Like you're proud of me, Emily said, annoyed at herself for caring. Alessandro's voice stayed low. I am. Emily rolled her eyes, but it didn't hide the small smile that escaped. You're impossible. Alessandro's mouth twitched. You sat in my lap on a dare. You don't get to call me impossible. Emily let out a laugh, real this time, quick and surprised. Okay, fair. The laughter eased something in her chest, not all of it, but enough. Alessandro glanced toward the entrance, scanning the room with calm precision, then returned his attention to her. We stay public, he said. We don't rush. And if you want to leave, we leave. Together or separate, your choice. Emily swallowed. Together sounds safer. Alessandro's gaze held hers, then together. Emily nodded slowly, then looked down at the menu like she could ground herself in paper and prices. She glanced back up. So what do you do, Alessandro? And don't say things. A faint smile appeared. I do things. Emily groaned. Of course you do. Alessandro looked amused, then gave her a real answer. Real estate, imports, logistics, legal businesses, Emily lifted a brow. And the illegal ones? Alessandro didn't flinch. There are parts of my world I don't bring into yours. Emily's pulse jumped. But they exist. Alessandro's eyes stayed steady. Yes? Emily stared at him, trying to decide if she should feel scared or impressed. Instead, she felt irritated. Why are you sitting here with me then? She asked. If you know your life is complicated. Alessandro's gaze didn't move. Because you make me feel uncomplicated. Emily blinked. That sentence landed straight in her chest, sharp and warm. She tried to cover it with sarcasm. That is the most dramatic thing you've said all night. Alessandro's mouth twitched. I can be dramatic. Emily shook her head slowly. You don't look like you're ever dramatic. Alessandro's eyes lowered, then returned to hers. You haven't seen me alone. Emily's breath caught. Her mind immediately tried to pull back. Don't go there. Don't flirt. Don't fall into this. But her body didn't get the memo. She lifted her cup and took a sip of water like it was a shield. So, you do this a lot? Random dinners with strangers? Alessandro's expression turned flat. No. Emily narrowed her eyes. Then why me? Alessandro leaned forward slightly, voice lower, more personal. Because you didn't ask me for anything. Emily scoffed. I literally asked for coffee this morning. That counts. Alessandro almost smiled. You know what I mean. Emily hesitated. People ask you for things? All the time, he said. Emily studied him for a beat. And you give it to them? Alessandro's eyes didn't soften. Sometimes. It depends. Emily set her glass down. Do you like that? No, Alessandro said simply. The honesty of the word made Emily's throat tighten. She glanced away, then back. So you're telling me you're a powerful man who hates being used? Alessandro's gaze held hers. Yes. Emily exhaled. And now someone is trying to make me think I'm being used. Alessandro nodded once. Yes. Emily's hands tightened in her lap. Is that true? Alessandro's eyes locked on hers like he wouldn't let her twist the question into something smaller. No. Emily blinked. How do you know? Alessandro's voice was calm. Because I don't need you for business. I don't need you for image. I don't need you for control. Emily's pulse hammered. Then what do you need me for? Alessandro paused. A real pause, like he chose his words carefully. Then he said, I need you because I want you. Emily went still. The room felt too bright for a second, too loud, too much. She stared at him, heart pounding, trying to decide how to respond without losing herself. Her voice came out quiet. That's a lot. Alessandro nodded. It is. Emily swallowed. And you're okay saying that to me? Alessandro's gaze stayed steady. I don't say things I don't mean. Emily's cheeks warmed, then she forced herself to breathe. Okay, she said, trying to keep her tone normal. Then if you want me, you don't get to scare me. Alessandro's jaw tightened slightly. I don't want to scare you. Then don't, Emily said simply. Alessandro held her gaze. I won't. They ordered food. Simple choices, no fancy performance. Emily found herself relaxing in small pieces, laughing when Alessandro made a dry comment about the waiter hovering like he was afraid to breathe too loud. You're used to people treating you like a bomb, Emily muttered. Alessandro's eyes flicked to her. Yes, Emily smirked. It must be exhausting. It is, he admitted. Emily paused, then asked softly, Does anyone treat you like a person? Alessandro's gaze held hers and something shifted. Small, real. Not often. Emily's chest tightened. She hated that she felt sympathy. Sympathy was dangerous around men like this. Sympathy could turn into softness, and softness could turn into attachment. Emily should have kept distance, but she found herself saying, quieter, I'm treating you like a person. Alessandro's eyes warmed and his voice dropped. I know. The dinner moved forward in a slow, strange rhythm. Moments of normal, moments of tension. then a laugh that broke it again. Emily told him about her job, her boss who loved sending emails at midnight, her cat's attitude, her friend's dramatic group chat. Alessandro listened like he cared about every detail, not like he was pretending. When Emily joked, "If my cat had thumbs, he'd probably file my taxes just to control me," Alessandro actually laughed, low, brief, surprised. Emily stared. "You do laugh." Alessandro lifted a brow. "I'm capable." Emily smiled despite herself. That sounded like a threat. Alessandro's eyes dipped to her mouth again, and Emily's stomach tightened. "Emily," he said softly, "may I ask you something?" She exhaled. "You've been asking me things all day." His gaze held hers. "Then one more." Emily nodded. "Okay." Alessandro's voice lowered. "When you sat in my lap, was it only a dare?" Emily's cheeks heated instantly. She opened her mouth, then closed it, because the answer was uncomfortable. It had started as a dare. But the second she felt his stillness under her, the second his eyes locked on hers, something in her had liked the power of being unafraid. She finally whispered, "It was a dare, and then it wasn't." Alessandro's breath slowed, visible in the subtle rise of his chest. He didn't reach for her hand. He didn't cross the table. He just looked at her like her honesty mattered more than touch. "Thank you," he said quietly. Emily blinked. "For what?" "For telling me the truth," he said. Emily swallowed. "You're welcome." Her phone buzzed again. Emily flinched without meaning to. Alessandro's gaze sharpened instantly. Emily looked down. This time it wasn't unknown. It was Marco. On Alessandro's phone, an incoming call. Alessandro glanced at Emily. "May I?" Emily nodded, tense. Alessandro answered, voice low. "Speak." Marco's voice came through faintly, controlled. "Number is masked. Burner. It pinged a cell tower 2 blocks away, then went dark. But there's more." Alessandro's eyes narrowed slightly. "More." Marco hesitated. The message wasn't only to her. Similar messages went to her friend Lauren. Emily's stomach tightened. She mouthed, "I told you." Alessandro's gaze stayed steady. "Who benefits?" Marco's voice was tight. "Someone who wants to separate you from her before she gets comfortable." Emily's heart pounded. Alessandro's voice lowered. "Any name?" A pause. Then Marco said, "One possibility. Someone from your past. Someone who doesn't like loose ends." Alessandro's jaw tightened, and for the first time Emily felt the full weight of the world he lived in, not through threats, but through the way his calm became colder. He ended the call and set the phone down slowly. Emily's voice came out soft. "Alessandro, what does that mean?" He met her eyes and his voice was controlled, gentle but firm. "It means the warning wasn't about me hurting you." Emily swallowed. "Then what was it about?" Alessandro hesitated for the first time since she'd met him. Then he said, "It may be about someone trying to hurt me. Through you." Emily went still. Her chest tightened, not with panic, but with anger, sharp and immediate. "You said I wasn't being used," she whispered. Alessandro's gaze held hers. "You're not. But if someone thinks you matter to me, they may try to prove it." Emily's breathing turned shallow. "Do I matter to you?" Alessandro's answer was immediate. "Yes." Emily stared at him, heart racing. Then she made a decision she didn't expect from herself. She reached across the table, slowly, giving herself time to stop, and placed her fingers lightly on the back of his hand. Alessandro froze, not because he disliked it, because he was startled by tenderness he hadn't asked for. Emily's voice was quiet but steady. "Then don't shut me out." Alessandro's eyes lifted to hers, dark, intense, and suddenly vulnerable. "I don't know how to let you in without putting you at risk," he admitted. Emily's throat tightened. She squeezed his hand once, gentle. "Try anyway." Alessandro's fingers turned under hers, and for the first time he held her hand back, warm, steady, careful. The contact sent a slow heat through Emily's body that had nothing to do with fear. Alessandro's voice dropped. If we continue this, Emily's breath caught. Yes? His eyes stayed on hers. I will want more than one dinner. Emily swallowed, pulse climbing. She tried to make it a joke. That sounds like a you problem. But her voice was soft and he heard the truth behind it. Alessandro leaned forward slightly, still holding her hand. Emily. Her breath hitched. She didn't know if he was going to kiss her. She didn't know if she would stop him, and that scared her in the best and worst way. Before anything could happen, Emily's phone buzzed again. Harder. Longer. A call this time. From Sasha. Emily's stomach dropped. She pulled her hand back slowly, breaking the moment, and answered. Sasha? Sasha's voice was tight, urgent. Emily, don't panic, but you need to know something right now. Emily's heart slammed. What? Sasha swallowed audibly. Your ex just showed up at my place, and he said he knows who you're having dinner with. Emily went cold. Her eyes lifted to Alessandro. He watched her face change, instantly alert. Emily's voice came out in a whisper. Sasha, what did he say? Sasha's breath shook. He said, tell Emily she belongs to me, and if she thinks DeLuca can protect her, she's about to learn how wrong she is. Emily didn't hear the restaurant anymore, not the music, not the laughter, not the clink of glasses. All she heard was Sasha's voice in her ear and the words that made Emily's skin go cold. Your ex just showed up at my place, Sasha said, tight and controlled, and he said he knows who you're having dinner with. Emily's throat closed. What did he say exactly? Sasha swallowed. He said, tell Emily she belongs to me, and if she thinks DeLuca can protect her, she's about to learn how wrong she is. Emily's stomach dropped so fast she felt dizzy. Across the table, Alessandro had gone still, not frozen, ready. His gaze locked on her face, sharp and focused, reading the panic she tried to hide. He didn't interrupt. He didn't demand. He waited for her to finish the call like her choice mattered. Emily forced air into her lungs. Sasha, where are you right now? At home, Sasha said. He left already, but, Emily, he was calm. Too calm. Emily's voice shook. Did he threaten you? He didn't raise his voice, Sasha whispered. That's why I'm scared. Emily's fingers tightened around the phone. Okay, listen. Lock your doors. Call the building security. If he comes back, call the police. Sasha exhaled hard. I already did. Emily, are you okay? Emily's eyes flicked to Alessandro again. He looked like a man holding back a storm. I'm okay. Emily lied softly. I'll call you back soon. Emily, Sasha said, pleading now. Don't be alone tonight. Emily swallowed. I won't. She ended the call and set the phone down with careful control, as if the table might crack if she moved too fast. Alessandro's voice came low. Your ex. Emily stared at her hands. Yes? Alessandro didn't ask who. He didn't ask why. He didn't lecture her. He asked the only thing that mattered. Is he dangerous? Emily swallowed hard. He's not violent. Alessandro's eyes narrowed. That's not an answer. Emily exhaled, frustrated with herself. He's controlling. He hates being ignored. He hates losing. Alessandro's jaw tightened. Name. Emily hesitated. She didn't want to give him anything that could escalate. She didn't want Alessandro's world colliding with her past like gasoline on a flame. But Sasha's voice echoed in her mind. Too calm. Emily said it anyway. Ryan Keller. Alessandro's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes turned colder. How long ago? 6 months, Emily said. I ended it. Clean. No drama. Alessandro's gaze held hers, and he didn't accept it. Emily looked away. He pretended he did. Alessandro nodded once, like he understood that kind of man too well. He followed you. Emily's chest tightened. I don't know. You do, Alessandro said softly. Emily's eyes snapped back to him. Don't tell me what I know. Alessandro didn't flinch. Then tell me the truth. Emily swallowed, then forced the words out. Yes, I think he's been watching me. The restaurant felt warmer than before, but Emily felt cold anyway. Alessandro leaned back slightly, giving her space, voice controlled. He won't come near you again. Emily's pulse spiked. You can't promise that. Alessandro's eyes held hers. I can promise I won't allow it. That should have scared her. She should have heard danger and run. Instead, she felt a rush of relief so strong it made her angry. Emily shook her head, voice tight. This is exactly what I didn't want. Alessandro's brows drew together. What? I didn't want your world, Emily said, breath shaking. I didn't want to be a reason for anyone to... She stopped, swallowing. I wanted one dinner. Normal. Alessandro's gaze softened. I know. Emily looked down, embarrassed by the tears pushing at her eyes. I'm not crying. Alessandro didn't smile. You don't have to. Emily pressed her lips together and wiped her eyes quickly, furious at herself. This is stupid. It's not, Alessandro said quietly. Someone crossed a line. Emily's voice turned sharp. You don't even know him. Alessandro's eyes didn't move. I know enough. Emily's hands clenched in her lap. What are you going to do? Alessandro answered slowly, like he was choosing words that wouldn't trap her. First, I'm taking you home. Emily's head snapped up. No. Alessandro's gaze stayed steady. Emily? No, she repeated, firmer. I'm not letting you take me home like I'm helpless. I drove here. I can drive home. Alessandro's jaw flexed. He looked like he wanted to argue. He didn't. Then you'll let me follow at a distance, he said. Emily stared. That's still you controlling things. Alessandro leaned forward slightly, voice low. It's me making sure you get home. Emily's chest tightened. She hated that his logic made sense. She also hated how much she liked the idea of him caring. Emily stood, forcing herself to steady her legs. I'm leaving. Now. Alessandro rose immediately, but he didn't touch her. He didn't grab her coat. He didn't guide her without permission. He simply moved with her, like a shadow that asked before it stepped too close. They walked through the restaurant together. People glanced up. Some looked curious, some looked nervous. No one stopped them. Outside, the cold air slapped Emily's face hard enough to clear her head. Alessandro stopped near the valet area, keeping space. Tell me where you're parked, Emily pointed. Garage across the street. Alessandro nodded. Good, I'll walk you there. Emily's voice rose. Alessandro. He stepped closer, but only enough that she could hear him clearly. His voice was calm, firm, and suddenly intimate in a way that made Emily's pulse jump for a different reason. You don't have to like it, he said. But I'm not letting you cross the street alone after that call. Emily held his gaze, breath tight. Then she exhaled and muttered, Fine. Walk me. But don't touch me. Alessandro's eyes flicked to her mouth, then back up. As you wish. They crossed together, Alessandro positioned slightly to her left, closer to traffic, like he was a shield without making it obvious. Emily noticed. Of course she noticed. It made her chest twist. At the garage entrance, Emily reached for her key fob. Her fingers shook slightly. Alessandro watched her hands. Breathe. Emily glared. Stop being calm. It's irritating. A faint smile touched his mouth. I'll try. Emily pressed the button, and her car lights blinked in response. She started walking deeper into the garage. The echo of their footsteps bounced off concrete. Emily's nerves spiked again. This is a bad idea. Alessandro's voice stayed low. Keep walking. Emily reached her car and unlocked it quickly, sliding into the driver's seat. Alessandro stayed outside her door, not leaning in, not touching, just watching her with a steady focus. You're going to your apartment, he said. Emily's head snapped up. Yes. Straight home, he added. Emily narrowed her eyes. Yes. Alessandro hesitated, then said something that surprised her. I won't follow you if you tell me not to. Emily blinked. What? His gaze held hers. I want you safe, but I won't make you feel trapped. Emily's throat tightened. She didn't want to admit how much that mattered. She swallowed, then whispered, "Follow." At a distance. Alessandro nodded once. Good. Emily started the engine, hands still shaking. She backed out of the spot and drove toward the exit. In her mirror, she saw a black car pull out a few rows behind her, not tailing close, just there, like a promise. The drive home felt longer than usual. Emily checked her mirrors, not just for Alessandro's car, but for anyone else. Her phone buzzed twice. Lauren, Madison. She ignored them, too overloaded to explain. When she pulled into her apartment complex, she spotted Alessandro's car still behind her, still distant. She parked, got out, and stood in the cold air, hugging her coat tighter. Alessandro's car stopped across the lot. He didn't get out immediately. Emily waited, heart pounding. Then he did. He crossed the lot slowly, hands visible, not rushing her. Emily lifted her chin. "You shouldn't be here." Alessandro stopped a few feet away. "I won't come closer unless you ask." Emily's throat tightened. "My ex knows where I am. My friends are scared. This is—" She stopped, swallowing. "This is too much." Alessandro's gaze softened. "Then I'll step back." Emily blinked. "Just step back?" "Yes," he said, simple. "But I need you to hear one thing first." Emily's pulse jumped. "What?" Alessandro took a slow breath, and for the first time he looked like a man who had to fight himself to stay controlled. "Ryan Keller didn't text you," he said. Emily went still. "How do you know?" Alessandro's voice was quiet. "Because the first message came before he showed himself to your friend. Someone else lit the match." Emily's stomach twisted. "So who?" Alessandro's gaze turned sharp again. "Someone who knows my world and wants to see what I do when I care." Emily swallowed. "Do you care?" Alessandro didn't hesitate. "Yes." The word landed in Emily's chest like weight. She stared at him, breath unsteady. "We've known each other for one day." Alessandro's eyes held hers. "And in one day you made me feel more than I have in years." Emily's heart pounded. She didn't want to believe him, but she saw it in his restraint, in the way he asked instead of took, in the way he followed at a distance because she asked him to. Emily's voice came out quiet. "This isn't safe." Alessandro nodded once. "Then let me make it safer." Emily shook her head, overwhelmed. "No, I don't want men watching me. I don't want—" She cut herself off, swallowing the panic. "I don't want your life." Alessandro's gaze sharpened with something like pain. "You don't have to want it. You only have to want me." Emily froze. The words were too direct, too intimate, too real. She looked away, then back. "You can't say things like that." Alessandro's voice lowered. "Why?" "Because—" Emily's throat tightened. "Because if I start believing you, I don't know if I can stop." Alessandro went still. For a second, he looked like he might step closer. He didn't. He simply said, "Then don't stop." Emily's breath caught. Her body reacted before her mind could. Heat curled low in her stomach. Her skin tingled. The cold air didn't matter. She hated it. She wanted it. Emily's fingers tightened on her coat. "I need you to leave." Alessandro's eyes held hers. "Say it again." Emily swallowed, then forced herself. "I need you to leave. Now." Alessandro nodded once, like he respected the boundary even if it hurt him. "Okay." He took a step back, then another. Emily's chest felt tight, like she just pushed away warmth and chosen cold on purpose. Alessandro stopped, gaze still on her. "Emily." She didn't answer. Alessandro's voice was quiet. "I won't let anyone use you to reach me." Emily's throat tightened. "Don't make promises you can't keep." Alessandro's eyes darkened. "It's the only kind I make." Then he turned and walked back to his car without another word. Emily watched him go, heart pounding, confused by the relief and the disappointment twisting together inside her. She climbed the stairs to her apartment, locked the door, and leaned her back against it, breathing hard. Miso trotted up, meowing like she'd been gone for weeks. Emily sank to the floor and pressed her face into her hands. Her phone buzzed again. This time she looked. An unknown number, a new message. You think you can run back to your little life? He'll ruin you. And you'll let him. Emily's breath caught. Her hands shook as she stared at the screen. Then her gaze lifted slowly to the peephole in her door, as if she could feel someone on the other side. And in that moment, Emily realized something that made her stomach drop all over again. Whoever was doing this wasn't finished, and she had no idea how far they were willing to go. Emily didn't sleep. She lay in bed with Miso pressed against her side, one hand on the cat's warm back, the other holding her phone like it might explode again. Every time the heater clicked on, she flinched. Every time a car passed outside, her heart jumped. The last message, "He'll ruin you, and you'll let him," kept repeating in her head, not because she believed it, but because it landed too close to a fear she didn't want to admit, that she wanted Alessandro, not his money, not his power. Him. The way he looked at her like she was a choice, not a prize. The way he held back when he could have taken. The way he left when she told him to. And still, she felt watched, not by him, by something else, something invisible and patient. At 2:11 a.m., her phone buzzed. Lauren. Emily answered instantly, whispering, "Hi." Lauren's voice was rough. "Don't hi me like we're besties. I've been panicking for hours. Are you okay?" Emily stared at the ceiling. "I'm home. Door's locked." "Miso is judging me." Lauren exhaled hard. "Thank God. Emily, I'm coming over." "No," Emily said quickly. "Don't." Lauren went silent. "Why not?" "Because if someone is watching me, I don't want them dragging you into it," Emily whispered. Lauren's voice softened. "Emily, you're already in it." Emily closed her eyes. "I know." Lauren hesitated. Is Alessandro dangerous?" Emily swallowed. "He's complicated." "That's not an answer," Lauren said. Emily turned her face into the pillow for a second. "He hasn't done anything to scare me. He's actually respectful." Lauren scoffed. "Respectful Mafia boss. Great. Love that for you." Emily let out a shaky laugh. "Stop." Lauren's tone shifted, lower. "You got another message?" Emily's grip tightened on her phone. "Yes." Lauren cursed under her breath. "Okay, listen to me. Tomorrow you're not going anywhere alone. Work, groceries, whatever. Someone's with you." Emily wanted to argue, but she was tired, and fear made her pride less loud. "Okay," she whispered. Lauren softened again. "And Emily?" "What?" "If you're going to keep seeing him, you need to tell him what's happening, all of it." Emily's chest tightened. "He already knows some." Lauren's voice was firm. "Not some, all." Emily hesitated. "I'll think about it." Lauren sighed. "That means you won't." "Fine. But call me the second anything feels off." Emily nodded. "Okay." They hung up and Emily stared into the dark until her eyes burned. When she finally drifted into sleep, it was light, broken, and full of restless images. Alessandro's face in the garage, his steady voice, the word, promise, like a chain around her ribs. By morning, Alessandro had already decided he wasn't going to let her face this alone. But he also wasn't going to break her rules. No men near her, no pressure, no control. So he chose the one option that kept her free while still keeping her safe. He made himself visible. At 8:15 a.m., Alessandro stood across the street from Crestline Creative, the building where Emily worked. Not on the sidewalk in front, not blocking the entrance. Across the street near a cafe, like he was just another man in the city, except he wasn't. He wore a dark coat over a suit, hair slicked back, beard sharp. He looked like he belonged in a different world, and the city bent around him without noticing. Marco stood 2 steps behind him. "You're breaking her rule," Marco said quietly. Alessandro's eyes stayed on the building. "I'm not approaching her job. I'm not entering her space. I'm standing where she can choose to see me or ignore me. Marco's mouth tightened. And if she ignores you? Alessandro's jaw flexed. Then I leave. Marco studied him for a moment, then nodded once. We traced the number from last night. It's a burner, but it's connected to a pattern. Alessandro's gaze sharpened. Whose pattern? Marco hesitated. Someone you cut off a year ago. Alessandro didn't blink. Say his name. Marco exhaled. Ethan Crowley. Alessandro's expression went cold in a way Marco had only seen in rooms with closed doors. Ethan Crowley had once been useful. He'd also been reckless. The kind of man who liked chaos because it made him feel powerful. Alessandro had removed him from the circle cleanly. No mess, no drama, no bodies. Just a severed tie and a warning. Disappear. Ethan had disappeared. Until now. Marco's voice stayed controlled. If it's him, he's trying to force you into contact. He wants a reaction. Alessandro's eyes narrowed. He'll get none. Marco watched him. Then what are you doing here? Alessandro didn't look away from the building. Making sure she doesn't think I left because I stopped caring. Marco's brows lifted slightly, but he didn't comment. Because Alessandro De Luca didn't say things like that unless they were true. Emily arrived at work with Lauren on speakerphone, her voice low and tense. I'm serious, Lauren said. No walking to your car alone. No coffee runs alone. If you have to pee, take someone. Emily rolled her eyes. Okay, now you're being dramatic. Lauren snapped. I don't care. Emily stepped into the lobby, scanned her badge, and tried to breathe normally. Her phone buzzed. Madison. Group chat emergency. Call us at lunch. Emily ignored it. She couldn't handle 30 opinions right now. She walked toward the elevators, but something made her glance out the glass doors. Across the street, near the cafe. Alessandro. Emily stopped so suddenly a woman behind her bumped into her shoulder. Sorry, Emily muttered automatically, eyes locked outside. He wasn't looking at her yet. He was facing the building, posture calm, hands in his coat pockets. And he wasn't close. He wasn't approaching. He was just there. Like a question. Emily's breath caught. Lauren's voice snapped in her ear. Emily, are you listening? Emily swallowed. He's here. Lauren went quiet for half a second, then exploded. Who is here? Alessandro, Emily whispered. Lauren cursed. Emily, I swear. Emily's eyes stayed on him. He's across the street. He's not doing anything. Lauren's voice turned sharp. That's the problem. Men like that don't do anything by accident. Emily's throat tightened. I have to go. Lauren said quickly. No, don't hang up. Emily ended the call anyway because her chest felt too tight to keep listening. She stood there in the lobby for several seconds, frozen between fear and something else. Then Alessandro lifted his gaze. Their eyes met through the glass. Emily's pulse kicked hard. He didn't wave. He didn't smile. He didn't signal. He simply held her gaze like he was saying, I'm here if you want me. Emily hated how much it soothed her. She also hated how much it made her want to run outside and demand answers. Instead, she turned sharply and walked to the elevator, forcing herself to act normal. But she couldn't concentrate all morning. Every time her phone buzzed, she jumped. Every time someone walked past her desk, she looked up too fast. And at 11:47, a bouquet of white tulips arrived at reception with a card. The receptionist, Kayla, walked toward Emily's desk with a grin that didn't match Emily's tension. Girl, Kayla whispered, someone loves you. Emily's stomach dropped. No. Kayla set the bouquet down. It's for you. Emily stared at the flowers like they were a trap. She picked up the card with careful fingers. No signature, no heart. Just a sentence in clean handwriting. You asked me not to come closer. I listened. Eat lunch with me outside. If you don't want to, ignore this and I'll leave. Emily's chest tightened. Respect, space, choice. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Emily's blood turned cold. She didn't want to look. She looked anyway. Pretty flowers. He's learning. Are you? Emily's hands shook. Her breath turned shallow. This person was watching her at work. They knew about the flowers. They were close enough to see. Emily's skin went cold, panic rising. Then she saw Alessandro across the street again through the window, still in the same spot, still calm, still waiting. And for the first time the choice felt clear. Not because he was powerful, because he was the only one in this mess who kept giving her control instead of taking it. Emily stood so fast her chair rolled back. Kayla blinked. Everything okay? Emily forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Yeah, just lunch. She grabbed her coat, her bag, the bouquet, because leaving it behind felt like leaving evidence, and walked toward the elevator with her heart pounding. As the elevator descended, her phone buzzed with a text from Lauren. "Don't you dare go to him." Emily stared at the message, then typed back one sentence. "I need to know who's watching me. He's the only one who can help without controlling me." She didn't wait for a reply. She stepped out of the building and walked into the cold air. Alessandro saw her immediately. He straightened slightly, like he was making sure his body didn't move too fast, didn't scare her. Emily crossed the street with the bouquet pressed to her chest, trying not to look like a woman walking toward a man who could ruin her life. She stopped 3 feet away, breath fogging. Alessandro's eyes moved over her face, sharp and protective. "You're pale." Emily's voice shook. "Someone is watching me, at work." Alessandro's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. "Show me." Emily handed him her phone with the message open. Alessandro read it once. The temperature in his eyes dropped, but he didn't lash out. He didn't grab her. He didn't bark orders. He lifted his gaze to her and said one quiet sentence. "Come with me for 1 hour." Emily's pulse spiked. "Where?" "Somewhere public," he said instantly. "Somewhere warm. Somewhere we can talk without ears nearby." Emily swallowed. "I can't just leave work." Alessandro's gaze softened. "You already did." Emily's throat tightened, because he was right. She looked down, then back up. "I told you I didn't want your people near me." Alessandro nodded. "And they won't be. It will be you and me." Emily's voice came out small. "And if I say no?" Alessandro's eyes held hers. "Then I leave. And I won't come back unless you ask." Emily stared at him, chest heaving. She wanted to say no to prove she could, but she was tired of feeling hunted. She nodded once. 1 hour. Alessandro's jaw flexed like he was holding back relief. "Good." He gestured toward the cafe behind him. Simple, normal, not glamorous. A place full of people. A place with windows. Emily blinked. "Coffee?" Alessandro's mouth twitched. "You like coffee?" Emily let out a shaky laugh. "Are you stalking my preferences now?" Alessandro's gaze stayed steady. "I'm paying attention." They walked into the cafe together. People looked. Some recognized him. Some didn't. No one stopped them. They sat at a small table by the window, close enough to the street that Emily felt less trapped. Alessandro waited until she settled, then leaned forward slightly. "Tell me everything about Ryan," he said. Emily's fingers tightened around her cup. "Why?" "Because he's not the one texting you," Alessandro replied. "But he's the one trying to claim you. That makes him useful to whoever is doing this." Emily's stomach turned. "So it's not him?" Alessandro's eyes stayed steady. "Not the messages, but he's involved now, which means someone contacted him, or he found out on his own." Emily swallowed. "He's obsessed with control. If he thinks I'm slipping away." Alessandro's voice went low. "Slipping away to me." Emily's cheeks warmed in spite of fear. "Don't make it sound like that." Alessandro held her gaze. "Is it not like that?" Emily looked away, throat tight. Alessandro didn't push. He asked softly, "Emily, do you want me?" The question landed like heat under her skin. Emily's breath hitched. "That's not the point." "It is for me," Alessandro said calmly. Emily swallowed, pulse racing. "I don't know you." Alessandro's gaze softened. "Then let me show you." Emily stared at him, heart pounding. Outside the window, the city moved like nothing was wrong. Inside, Emily felt like she was standing at the edge of a life she'd never planned for. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Emily froze. She looked down. Good choice. Now let's see if he tells you the truth about who he really is. Emily's breath caught. She lifted her eyes slowly to Alessandro. Her voice came out in a whisper. They want me to question you. Alessandro's expression didn't change, but his eyes sharpened. Then ask, he said quietly. Anything. Emily swallowed hard, then asked the one question that had been sitting in her chest since the first 3 seconds. What exactly are you, Alessandro? He held her gaze for a long beat. Then he said, calm and brutally honest, I'm a man who built an empire in a city that rewards cruelty. Emily's throat tightened. Alessandro leaned in slightly, voice low, controlled. But with you, I don't want to be that man. Emily's heart hammered, and she didn't know which part scared her more. The empire, or the way she wanted to believe him. Emily's coffee sat untouched between her hands. Alessandro's words, an empire in a city that rewards cruelty, hung in the air, heavy and honest. He hadn't tried to make himself sound harmless. He hadn't pretended he was a saint. He'd simply told the truth in the cleanest way he could. And somehow that made Emily trust him more. Still, her nerves were stretched thin. The messages, Ryan, the feeling of being watched at work, it all pressed on her skin like static. Emily swallowed and forced herself to ask the question the unknown texter wanted her to ask. Why now? She said quietly. Why me? Why this sudden obsession? Alessandro didn't look offended. He looked like he'd been waiting for her to go there. Because you didn't negotiate with my fear, he replied. You didn't flatter me. You didn't pretend. You sat down, looked me in the eyes, and you were yourself. Emily's throat tightened. That's not an answer. It is, he said calmly. It's just not one you can control. Emily exhaled, frustrated. I don't want to be part of someone's power game. Alessandro's gaze sharpened. You won't be. Emily tilted her head. How can you promise that? Alessandro leaned forward slightly. His voice dropped, still gentle, but firm. Because if someone is trying to pull you into my world, I will cut the rope. Completely. Emily's breath hitched. What does that mean? It means, he said evenly, I'll stop seeing you if that's what keeps you safe. Emily froze. Her body reacted like she'd been slapped. Sharp shock, then a hollow ache that made no sense for a man she'd known for barely 2 days. She tried to hide it with sarcasm. Wow, that's romantic. Alessandro's eyes didn't leave hers. It's not romantic, it's respect. Emily looked down at her hands because she couldn't let him see how much that word hit her. Respect. No one had ever threatened to walk away for her sake. Most men walked away when they didn't get what they wanted. Alessandro was offering to walk away because he wanted her safe. Emily's phone buzzed again. Her stomach dropped automatically. She forced herself to look. Unknown number. If he walks away, you lose. If he stays, you lose. Choose. Emily's throat went dry. She didn't show him right away. She didn't want him to see the panic climb into her eyes. But Alessandro noticed anyway. What did it say? He asked. Emily swallowed, then slid the phone toward him. Alessandro read it once. His face remained calm, but something in his eyes turned razor sharp, like he was tracking a target he couldn't yet see. They want you trapped, he said. Emily's voice cracked. I already feel trapped. Alessandro's gaze softened slightly. Then we do the opposite of what they want. Emily blinked. Which is? Alessandro leaned back, giving her space, voice steady. We make choices they can't predict. Emily frowned. Like what? Alessandro's eyes flicked briefly to the street, then back to her. You go back to work. You finish your day like normal. Tonight you stay with your friends. Public. Safe. No isolation. Emily's pulse jumped. And you? Alessandro's voice stayed calm. I handle the rest. Emily narrowed her eyes. That sounds like control. It's strategy, he corrected. And you still choose. Emily stared at him, fighting the urge to argue just to prove she could. But she was exhausted. And the truth was, she didn't want to be alone right now. Okay, she whispered. I'll stay with Lauren. Alessandro nodded once, like he respected the decision. Then he said, but first, there's something I need to confirm. Emily's stomach tightened. Confirm what? Alessandro's gaze held hers. Whether this is about you or about me. Emily blinked. What does that even mean? Alessandro hesitated for the first time, then chose the honest version. It means I have to know if someone reached out to Ryan Keller, he said quietly, or if Ryan did this on his own because he saw you with me. Emily's chest tightened. How would you know? Alessandro's eyes didn't soften. I ask him. Emily sat back, alarm shooting through her. No, absolutely not. You can't go talk to him. I'm not going to hurt him, Alessandro said, controlled. That's not my fear, Emily snapped, then forced herself to lower her voice. My fear is that you'll collide, that it becomes a thing, that someone gets dragged into your world and it never ends. Alessandro watched her for a long moment. You care what happens to him. Emily's face heated. I care that he doesn't escalate. I care that this doesn't become a war over me. Alessandro's jaw tightened at the word war, like he hated that she even had to say it. He leaned forward slightly, voice low. Emily, look at me. She met his eyes. I don't fight over women, he said. I don't compete. If you choose someone else, I leave. Emily's throat tightened. I'm not choosing Ryan. Alessandro held her gaze. Then I'm not competing. I'm ending a problem. Emily swallowed. How? Alessandro didn't answer with threats. He answered with a plan. I'll meet him in daylight, he said. In a public place, with cameras. He won't be touched. Emily's pulse slowed a fraction. And what do you want from him? The truth, Alessandro said. Emily stared at him, then nodded slowly. Okay, but I want to know when and where. No secrets. Alessandro's eyes warmed, approval flickering. Good. Emily frowned. Good. You're not shrinking, he said quietly. You're setting terms. Emily's cheeks warmed. She hated that she liked his praise. She stood, slipping her phone into her bag. I need to go back before my boss sends a search party. Alessandro rose too, keeping space. I'll walk you to the street. Emily hesitated, then nodded. They stepped out of the cafe together. The cold hit Emily's face. The city noise wrapped around them, normal and chaotic. For a second, she almost forgot the messages. Then she saw a familiar car parked across the street, a silver sedan with tinted windows. Her stomach dropped. Emily stopped walking. Alessandro noticed instantly. What is it? Emily swallowed. That car. Ryan drives one like that. Alessandro's gaze sharpened, scanning the sedan without moving closer. Do you see him? Emily squinted. I can't tell. The driver's side window lowered halfway. Ryan Keller's face appeared. He was handsome in a clean, predictable way. Well-groomed hair, expensive watch, a smile that looked polite until you knew it wasn't. His eyes locked on Emily like she was something he owned and had misplaced. Emily's chest went tight with anger. Ryan's gaze flicked to Alessandro, and his smile sharpened. Well, Ryan called out, voice loud enough to carry, this is new. Emily stepped forward automatically, but Alessandro's hand lifted slightly, not touching her, just signaling pause. Emily breathed in, trying to stay calm. Ryan, what are you doing here? Ryan's eyes never left Alessandro. Checking on you. Emily scoffed. You don't check on me, you don't get to. Ryan smiled wider. You're still dramatic. Emily's fingers curled into her coat pocket, nails pressing into her palm. Leave. Ryan's gaze slid back to her, softer, like he was performing for an audience. Emily, come on. You don't know what you're doing. You're being reckless. Emily let out a sharp laugh. Reckless is showing up at my friend's house to threaten her. Ryan's smile faltered for half a second. Then he recovered. I didn't threaten anyone. Sasha's voice echoed in Emily's head. Too calm. Emily's stomach tightened. Alessandro spoke for the first time, his voice low, controlled, and calm enough to be terrifying. Ryan Keller. Ryan turned his head fully toward Alessandro, eyes narrowing. And you are? Alessandro didn't answer with a title. He didn't say boss. He didn't say anything dramatic. He simply said, step away from her life. Ryan laughed, short, mocking. Who's going to make me? Emily's pulse spiked, but Alessandro didn't move. He didn't step closer. He didn't raise his voice. He held Ryan's gaze like a man who didn't need to shout to be heard. I'm giving you one warning, Alessandro said quietly. In public, in daylight, with cameras. You'll appreciate the courtesy later. Ryan's smile tightened. Is that supposed to scare me? Alessandro's eyes stayed cold. No, it's supposed to clarify. Emily's breath caught. She could feel the power in Alessandro without him doing anything loud. Ryan's gaze flicked back to Emily, his voice turning sweet in that fake way that made Emily's skin crawl. Emily, get in the car. We need to talk. Emily took a step forward, voice sharp. No, we don't. Ryan's smile dropped. For a moment, his mask slipped. His eyes went flat. You're making a mistake. Emily's heart pounded. Leave. Ryan stared at her, then back at Alessandro. You think he's protecting you? Alessandro didn't blink. Ryan's mouth curved again, slow and ugly. You're not special, Emily. You're just new. Emily's cheeks burned with anger. Go. Ryan held her gaze for a long beat, then lifted his phone as if to call someone. He didn't. He just smiled like he knew something. Then he rolled up the window and drove off. Emily's knees felt weak. She exhaled hard, shaking. He was waiting for me. Alessandro's voice was calm. Yes. Emily's throat tightened. How did he know I was there? Alessandro's eyes darkened. Because someone told him. Or because he has eyes on you. Emily's stomach turned. She looked up at Alessandro, voice thin. This is getting worse. Alessandro's gaze softened slightly, but his tone stayed firm. No, it's getting clearer. Emily blinked. Clearer how? Alessandro leaned in slightly, lowering his voice. Ryan doesn't want you back. He wants you controlled, and someone is feeding him information. Emily swallowed. Who? Alessandro's eyes sharpened again. The same person who's texting you. Emily's pulse raced. And you said you'd meet him. Alessandro nodded once. Today, in public, on your terms. Emily's chest tightened. I want to be there. Alessandro's gaze snapped to hers. No. Emily's voice rose. Don't tell me no. Alessandro's jaw flexed. Emily, I'm tired of people deciding things for me. She snapped, eyes burning. If this is about me, I want to see it. Alessandro held her gaze for a long moment. Then he exhaled slowly. You can be nearby, he said. Not at the table, not in his line of sight, but close enough to leave if you choose. Emily's chest heaved. Fine. Alessandro nodded once. Good. Emily stared at him, heart still racing, and realized something that made her throat tighten. He wasn't trying to control her. He was trying to keep her safe without taking her choices away. And that was the most dangerous thing of all, because it made her want to choose him. Alessandro stepped back slightly. Go to work. I'll text you the location. Emily nodded, swallowing. Okay. She turned toward the building, then paused and looked back. Alessandro was watching her, steady and focused, like he was holding himself in place with effort. Emily's voice came out softer. Alessandro. Yes? He said. Emily hesitated, then said the truth she couldn't swallow anymore. I don't want you to walk away. Alessandro's expression shifted, just a flicker of something deep. He didn't move closer. He didn't touch her. He only said, low and honest, Then don't give me a reason to. Emily's breath caught. She turned and walked inside before she could do something reckless, like run back and kiss him in the middle of the sidewalk. But as she rode the elevator up, her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Emily's stomach dropped as she read it. He's going to meet Ryan. Good. Now you'll finally see what kind of man you're falling for. Emily stood at the edge of the small public park, hands tucked into her coat pockets, heart beating so loudly she was sure someone could hear it. She had arrived early on purpose. Alessandro had sent the location and time exactly as promised. No mystery, no last-minute changes. A cafe with outdoor tables, cameras on every corner, people walking dogs, couples arguing softly, a street musician tuning his guitar. Normal, safe, or at least as safe as anything felt right now. Emily watched from across the street, just as they had agreed. Not hidden, not sneaking, just present by choice. Her phone buzzed once in her pocket. Alessandro. I'm here. Emily lifted her gaze. He stood near one of the tables, hands relaxed at his sides, posture calm. No entourage, no intimidation. Just a man in a dark coat, waiting. Then a silver sedan pulled up. Emily's stomach tightened. Ryan Keller stepped out like he owned the sidewalk. He looked confident. Too confident. A casual jacket, expensive shoes, the same polished smile he'd always used when he thought he was winning. Emily's jaw clenched. Ryan spotted Alessandro immediately, and for the first time since she'd known him, Ryan hesitated. Just a fraction. It was enough. Emily watched Ryan walk over, posture stiffening with every step. Alessandro didn't move. He didn't meet Ryan halfway. He waited. The two men stopped a few feet apart. Emily held her breath. She couldn't hear everything, but she saw enough. Ryan spoke first, animated, smiling like this was a business meeting he expected to dominate. Alessandro listened, didn't interrupt, didn't react. Ryan gestured once, sharp, dismissive. Alessandro finally spoke. His voice didn't carry, but his stillness did. Ryan's smile faltered. Emily's pulse raced. Ryan leaned closer, saying something she couldn't hear. Alessandro's jaw tightened, but he didn't move. Then Alessandro said something short and final. Ryan laughed. A hollow sound. He pulled out his phone, holding it up like a threat, like proof he had leverage. Emily's stomach dropped. Then Alessandro calmly took out his own phone and held it up too. Ryan's laughter died. Emily watched Ryan's confidence collapse in real time, his shoulders stiffening, his mouth tightening, his eyes darting around as if suddenly aware of how public this was. People were watching now, not closely, but enough. Alessandro said one last sentence. Ryan stared at him, stunned. Then Ryan actually looked, past Alessandro, and saw Emily. Their eyes met. Ryan's expression shifted to something ugly and desperate. He shook his head slowly, like he couldn't believe she was standing there. Then, without another word, he turned, got back into his car, and drove away. Emily's knees nearly gave out. She didn't realize she was shaking until she tried to step forward and had to stop. Alessandro stayed where he was for a moment longer, watching the car disappear. Then he turned, and found her. Their eyes locked across the street. Something broke open in Emily's chest. Relief, fear, adrenaline, affection, all tangled together. She crossed toward him without thinking. Alessandro met her halfway this time. Not fast, not slow. Right. He stopped in front of her, close enough that she could see the tension finally easing from his shoulders. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. Emily nodded, then shook her head, then laughed once, breathless. "I think so." Alessandro searched her face. "He won't contact you again." Emily swallowed. "How do you know?" Alessandro hesitated, just enough to show her respect, then answered honestly. "Because the messages weren't from him," he said. "They were from Ethan Crowley." Emily's stomach tightened. "The man you cut off." "Yes," Alessandro said. "He wanted my attention. He wanted to see if I'd react." Emily's chest felt tight. "And Ryan?" "Ryan wanted control," Alessandro replied calmly. Ethan gave him information and fed his ego. When Ryan realized he was being used, he folded. Emily exhaled slowly. So it's over. Alessandro nodded once. It's over. Emily searched his face for signs of danger, violence, darkness. She saw none. Only control, restraint, care. And Ethan? She asked. Alessandro's mouth curved slightly. Not a smile, but satisfaction. He got what he wanted. My attention. He won't want it again. Emily didn't ask how. She didn't need to. She looked down, then back up, voice quieter. You could have handled this very differently. Alessandro met her gaze. I know. You didn't, Emily said. No, he agreed. Because of you. Emily's throat tightened. You were willing to walk away. Alessandro nodded. I still am, if that's what you want. The words hit her harder than any threat ever could. Emily stepped closer, close enough that the noise of the street faded. I don't want you to walk away, she said softly. Alessandro's breath slowed. Emily. She lifted her chin, heart pounding. I don't want to be scared of your world. I want to understand it. And I want to understand you. Alessandro's eyes darkened with emotion he didn't hide this time. That world isn't gentle. Emily smiled faintly. Neither am I. That finally did it. Alessandro reached for her, slowly, giving her time to pull back. She didn't. His hand cupped her cheek, warm and steady, like he'd been holding himself back for days just for this moment. Emily's breath hitched. Alessandro's voice dropped. May I? Emily nodded. Yes. He kissed her like he meant it, not rushed, not desperate. A deep, grounding kiss that felt like choice and promise and restraint all wrapped into one. Emily melted into it, fingers curling into his coat, heart finally unclenching. When they pulled apart, Emily laughed softly, forehead resting against his chest. You're not what I expected. Alessandro brushed his thumb gently along her jaw. Neither are you. She looked up at him. So, what happens now? Alessandro didn't hesitate. Now we do this honestly. Emily raised a brow. Define this. He smiled, fully this time. Warm, real. Dinner that doesn't end in threats. Mornings that start with coffee. Arguments, laughter. A life that doesn't belong to fear. Emily's chest filled. That sounds normal. Alessandro's gaze softened. With you, I want normal. Emily took his hand, threading her fingers through his without hesitation. Okay, she said. Then we start slow. Alessandro squeezed her hand gently. I don't rush what matters. 6 months later, Emily stood barefoot in Alessandro's penthouse kitchen, wearing one of his shirts and sipping coffee while the city woke up below them. Miso sat on the counter, judging everything. Alessandro stood behind her, arms around her waist, chin resting on her shoulder. You're smiling, he murmured. Emily leaned back into him. I'm thinking about how weird it is that all of this started with a dare. Alessandro kissed her temple. You changed my life in 3 seconds. Emily laughed softly. You ruined my reputation. He smiled. Worth it. Emily turned in his arms and looked up at him. Really looked. Not at the power, not at the rumors. At the man who listened, who waited, who chose her without owning her. I love you, she said. Alessandro didn't freeze. He didn't hesitate. He smiled and answered with the same certainty he gave everything that mattered. I love you too. And for the first time, Emily knew, without fear, without doubt, that sitting on his lap had been the bravest, best decision she'd ever made.